You know, some people age like a fine wine, and some people age like a can of special brew left on a hot windowsill. Whichever one you are, get ready to talk about those pesky little emotions of yours, because it's time for another episode of I've Had a Rosé, Let's Talk About Feelings. Please welcome your host, Sam Lake. It was me the whole time.
Hello, everyone. We're already wildly into another episode of I've Had a Rosé, Let's Talk About Feelings, and my guest is the wonderful Jay Lafferty.
Yay! Where am I looking?
Wherever you like.
Oh, cool, thanks.
This camera is all you, although that's a bit of my hand. Oh, sorry. That
Did you just flick my nipples?
Only virtually.
Oh, well.
But, loved it.
It was great.
Or you can look at that one. You can look at whichever camera you like.
There we go.
Or you can stare lovingly into my eyes. Okay, look at one of the cameras.
That's unnerving.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah. I'm miserable. No,
oh, okay.
I'm good, thank you. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've already plunged right into your mug.
I like a quick plunge.
You like a quick plunge. You do like a cold water swim.
I do like a cold water swim as well.
Swim.
Yes, and if I can have a little margs after that. Then...
A little margs after that. Well, let's talk about your drink of choice.
Yes.
A margarita.
It is a margarita.
Someone's feeling spicy.
Well, do you know what? This is my drink. So
this is your drink.
This is like my signature drink.
Because you were saying that you make this at home.
Yes, I
with
do.
your own measures,
My own measures, my own cocktail shaker. Mm-hmm. I've got crushed ice, I've got cubed ice, I've got the big blobby square ice. I'm all about the margaritas.
You do full trimmings. Do you salt the rim?
Of course I salt the rim.
So, excuse me.
Come on. I'm not an amateur. Who doesn't enjoy a salted rim?
Euphemistically love, but actual salted rim, I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan of? Oh no, I love it.
I'm a sweetie boy.
But I like the sweetness, but then I like the kind of sourness of this. Like it all just blends together. And if you get a spicy margarita and you get spicy salt,
a spicy margarita.
Yes.
I've only had once or twice, but I did quite enjoy it.
Yes, and and it's a little spicy salt around the side as well. So that's the dream. I haven't quite. I don't make my own spicy margaritas yet.
But someday.
One day.
Someday?
Yeah.
Do you like having a signature cocktail?
I do, very much.
Like if we came round and you were like, oh, what drink is she going to make? It's going to be a classic.
It's going to be a classic margs.
Classic margs.
And you're going to enjoy it and you're going to be drunk after too.
Great. Yeah. Efficient.
Yes, and it also means guests don't stay too long.
Okay, very tactical.
They're
too drunk and they have to go before they make a scene. Do you serve them individually or do you do it party style, like in a big jug?
So when I go away with Kier's family on holiday, when there's 14 of us, I make great big jugs from the minute that we land to the minute that we take back off jugs, because I need to cope. Mm-hmm. But at home I usually do little individuals just in the shaker. Just in the shaker. But myself and my sister-in-law Hannah, when we go away, we make a large jug for us and then we just make individuals for everybody else because they can't handle the spice.
You have to do it with different measures.
Yes.
I have a cocktail shaker at home and it has the measurements for things like printed on the side. But I misunderstood and thought you filled it to that level.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I tried to make a pink lady. Uh-huh. It was
Was she neon?
Well, she was. If she was pink, it was because she had gout. It was very heavy.
Wow.
And slightly curdled.
Yeah.
And I was doing the thing of like, no, it's like, this is how it's supposed to, you probably just, it's not your thing. That's absolutely fine. Chewing it down. Not good. But a margarita I'm sure you add a lot of flair to it, but it's actually quite simple.
Yeah, it's very simple. You've just got your tequila, your triple sec, or if you're feeling fancy, Cointreau. If you've got a bit of money to flash about for a nice bottle of Cointreau, because triple sec's much cheaper.
Yeah.
And then just some squeezed limes. Salt your rim and away you go.
Oh, it's the start of a good day.
It's a great day.
I have my Weetabix.
I start my morning.
I salt the rim of the bowl.
It's good.
And does it put you in any particular kind of mood when you have a margarita, seeing as it's your signature?
It just relaxes me entirely, right? So I can have a margs if I'm going to work or whatever. You know, like sometimes we'll have a little pre-drink before a gig. Not often, I have to say.
I have to be in a particular mood to do that,
I have
think.
to be in it as well. But I might have, if I'm going to have a drink before a gig, it is often Prosecco because I'm a basic bitch.
Love a sake. Eleanor Morton was on and her drink was sake.
It's very basic.
She won't take that personally because she said, like, this is part of my basic bitch Fridays. She treats herself to doing all of the basic things.
All the basic things.
Which are actually quite nice.
And I think that's like, you know, so if I've got to work afterwards and do a gig, then a little Prosecco. But if I'm having a margarita, it's because the day is either done or there's nothing ahead of it but chillness.
Right.
So it's a very like, let's sit down, like take our shoes off.
You have made yourself comfortable.
I have, and just chill.
Yeah.
Just chill.
What a nice way to settle.
Yeah.
Lovely. I'm trying to think if I have a drink that calms me down. I can't think of one because a rosé gets me amped up.
Yeah, it kind of ramps you. I can't have a rosé. I can't do rosé. It makes me so drunk. I don't know what it is about it.
That'll be because it's wine.
No, but I can drink white wine. I can drink red wine.
Yeah.
But if I have like one glass of rosé, I'm like...
Well, do you think it's because rosé is sort of like the basic one?
I think they put something in it for sure.
I think if those three types of wine are like the Kardashians.
Yes.
Kim's the red.
Okay.
No,
okay. I'm going with your analogy.
Okay.
Let's go.
Chloe's white.
White.
Courtney's rosé.
Yeah.
Because she's just off on one.
She is the maddest.
She is the maddest.
She is the maddest. It does make like my girlfriends that I grew up with, and we're all still friends. My best friend, she's gonna hate me for telling this story in a podcast.
Oh no.
She drinks rosé wine, and but we always figure out how drunk we all are by Rona's eye. So if Rona's eye has like started to wander. We're like, we need to stop drinking. Look at Rona's eye.
Oh, bless her, a little lazy eye barometer.
Little lazy eye barometer. She's going to kill me for telling that story. But also, if I don't think she's enough to drink, she'll be like, I'm quite drunk. And I'll be like, you're fine. Your eye's not even away, hen. Come on, get another rosé down you.
Does she notice a difference in her vision, or is she just walking around just...
I mean, yeah, I think she probably did. But that's probably from the drunkenness.
Okay.
Yeah. More than the...
So as long as the eyes are like where they're supposed to be,
we'll keep drinking.
Doesn't matter if she's flopped a tit out, if she's like face down in a gutter.
Absolutely not. That's just usual.
That's just usual. She's very wobbly. She's a very wobbly girl. She's a wobbly woman. Oh, well, good. I'm glad you've chosen a drink then that gets you nice and relaxed.
It chills me out.
You also seem in a very chilled pose as well.
I'm very...
Okay, well, now the vibe is different.
Well, do you know what it is? Is that like I'm not a seat sitter. Does that make sense? You get seat sitters in life, and you get floor sitters. And I'm a floor sitter. I'm not a seat sitter. I don't really like a seat.
You like to feel more grounded.
Yes, I like to feel more grounded. It's like what do you call it? Not as far to fall as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I like if I'm in the house, I'm like sat on the floor. I've got a cushion and I'm down and I'm like propped against the sofa.
Okay.
That's how I like to sit. So I find seats. This is as chilled as I can be on a seat.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't like my feet. It's a weird angular thing.
Had I known in advance, I'd have asked if we could get you a gurney or something. And
I'd have loved a gurney.
Yeah, a gurney. Gurney is obviously the perfect seat for you, considering the topic that you've chosen, which I can't wait to dive into because I know a little bit about this.
Okay.
A lot of it from chopped up clips on TikTok.
Okay.
So you have a fun time filling in my blanks, as it very much were. Your topic is Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy.
Old Meredith Grey.
Meredith, Christina, Alex, George, Karev, the original crew.
The original crew. Yeah. But I see you watch all of it.
I watch all of it. I haven't seen the last two seasons because I kind of fell out with it. But I am currently making my way from season 1 all the way back through again so that I can fall in love with all of the characters and watch the new season that's just come out.
Lovely.
So that's where I'm up to. This morning was because I just have it on all the time. I have it on in the background.
It's your background show.
Background
We're talking about this
It's just on all the time. So this morning, as I was getting ready, I just finished episode 2, season 7.
Okay.
So yeah. So we've had the shooting.
There was a shooting?
Yes.
The biggest, most dramatic thing I can remember happening is, did somebody get shot at with a bazooka? And the bazooka was still lodged in the man unexploded.
Yes, that's like season 1 or 2. That's
was that very early on?
That's very early on, yes. Just a patient, not a main character.
Okay.
We don't care about what happens to the patient.
No, but Meredith had to hold the thing steady.
That's right. She had to hold it steady,
Yeah.
and then the bomb guy, he became, what do they call it? Red mist.
Red mist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of that episode.
So talk me through the characters. So I know there's Meredith Grey.
So Meredith Grey, so we start, right, so I'll take you back, right, let's follow
me back.
2005.
Yeah.
I'm 23 years old.
Okay.
I've just bought my first home.
Okay.
Because that's something that you could do
having a
as
whale
a
of a time,
23-year-old in
just
2005.
sat on the floor.
Sitting on the floor of my home because I couldn't afford any furniture. My one thing, I hadn't long come back from LA, and I had grown up, so we had a Sky package in our house. I know, I don't want to brag.
I had no idea that you were a Tory.
Oh no.
My dad had Sky, and when my parents split up, this isn't as heavy as it starts to sound. I always wanted to spend more time with my dad, and my mum always took it personally. I was just like, it's just because he's got the Sky box. That's literally it.
So we had Sky. Now, I'm not saying that we had it legally, but we had Sky.
Oh no, ours was like, we connect to a special cable.
Yeah, exactly. And so I kind of had a lot of shows, so like a lot of American shows I had seen before they would put them on like British terrestrial TV at that point. So I kind of grown up with that, and so one of my things was when I bought my house was I took a second job, which was stand up.
Oh, okay.
In order to be able to afford for a Sky package. Because I had to be able to watch Grey's Anatomy.
You don't often hear of people getting into stand-up for the money.
Oh, for the money, yeah. But I was looking for a second job. I had been doing stand-up for about 2 years at that point. So I was beginning to make a bit of money. And that's what I spent all my laughter money on was, I think it was £56 a month at that time. Something like that.
£56?
It was quite a lot of money, yeah. Because I had to get the dish and everything installed.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I had to like pay for the dish. I couldn't pay for the dish up front, so I paid for it in installments. So I think it was for the first wee while, and then it went down to like £21.
I was going to say, with the number of streaming services I'm probably signed up to, it probably amounts to something close to that.
I pay a hell of a lot more for Sky now than I did then, I have to say.
Sky's still quite expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Yeah.
Is that still what you watch Grey's on?
No, to be fair, I watch Grey's on Disney Plus, which is also quite expensive.
Another one. Yes.
I've got them all. I've got every single package because I don't like to miss out.
You love a package.
I love a package. If there's one thing you can say about me, Sam.
It's often said about you.
I love a package and a salted rum.
Did you hear that? Package lover was chatting to Margarita Slurp or whatever you called me. So at the start of Grey's Anatomy, was there some when there must have been a time when you just casually were watching and were like, oh, I could really get into this.
I don't remember. I've always really been into medical dramas.
Right,
so I watched ER for years. So my mum and I used to watch ER on a Wednesday night, and that was our thing. And then I think ER maybe was still on when Grey's Anatomy started.
Might have been, yeah.
And I think but I think George had gone. I think Clooney had flown the coop.
Yeah, he left a few years before it was over.
Yeah, and I think it was around the time that Anthony Edwards' character was dying of cancer, and I was like, nah, I'm not for this.
No.
And so I ditched ER and I started with Grey's. And the thing about Grey's Anatomy that I really loved was that, so I moved into my house with my best friend Victoria, and so she was a year and a bit younger than me. We were at university together. I felt like I was the kind of Christina Yang of the relationship.
Yeah.
And she was like a Meredith, right? She was a lot smarter than me.
the disdain, and you thought she was a bit of a Meredith.
She was a bit of a Meredith. So we moved into I had the flat, and then she moved in, and that was like our big ritual thing, is that we watched a lot of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
We called ourselves by the characters
on the show.
We drank tequila. It's where the Margs started, because they drank tequila, and when we were upset, we would dance it out in the living room, which is also what Meredith and Christina both do.
How lovely.
Yeah, and we were looking for McDreamy and McSteamies.
I was going to ask about the various Emies.
Yeah.
Because was it just those two? Because I felt like they added more after I stopped watching. There was McDreamy.
There was McDreamy, McSteamy, and then
McBreamy. Smells of fish. McCreamy. Lactose intolerant.
So yeah, we did. Yeah. There was a lot of mix. There was a lot of mix. Yeah. McDreamy and McSteamy. I was always a McSteamy lover. And
so is McSteamy
Dylan is Mark
McDermott?
Sloan.
The other one.
Mark Sloan.
Okay.
So he is the plastics guy. And he comes in, he'd actually slept with McDreamy, Derek's wife.
Oh, right.
But we don't find that out to the end of season 1.
I thought you were saying the Emies had slept together. I was like, we have to give this a rewatch. How much is the package on Disney Plus? Okay, right. So I think it's really nice to have a show that you watch with somebody, and then when you watch it, like, it becomes like a little ceremony, like a little treat, a ritual kind of thing.
And for years and years we did that. And now this is where, so Victoria, who is my best friend, who I lived with, is sadly no longer with us. She passed away. And she had cystic fibrosis. Mm-hmm. So my favourite thing about watching Grey's Anatomy with Victoria was that she would get very angry when they got a medical thing wrong, because she had a quite in-depth knowledge of medical procedures.
Was she a doctor?
No, she had cystic fibrosis. So she was in and out of hospital all the time.
Right.
So she had a very in-depth knowledge of a lot of the procedures. So I used to enjoy her shouting at the television that would never happen. And I would go, do you know why he's doing that? And she'd be like, no, why? And I'd be like, because the director told him to. And then she would get very annoyed.
Do you care at all if it's like, super... I have factually accurate?
No, it's absolutely not factually accurate. And they do things, they debulk tumours in 10 minutes, and they do things like groundbreaking. There's never an episode goes past when they've not done a groundbreaking surgery. And they've been on their feet for like 48 hours, and they really care about the patients.
Yes.
It's not at all really a reflection of the American medical system.
Well,
I don't think
it feels very American as well, because I feel like in American dramas they really like the drama.
Yeah.
Whereas if you compare Grey's Anatomy to like Doctors, on Grey's Anatomy, like, someone will have been cut in half by a helicopter.
Absolutely.
But also they're pregnant.
Yes.
And the baby needs, I don't know, breast reduction or something. Yeah. So all of that's happening in the space of one episode, and then you stick on Doctors and someone just walks in and be like, I've got an ear infection.
Yeah, I've got a bunion. Get McBunion.
McBunion.
Well, that's the thing, because I was... because I'm rewatching it again at the moment.
Yeah.
And you kind of, there is moments now, Amelia Baylor, who I do a podcast with, The Joy Agenda.
I've been on it.
I know you have. You were a fabulous guest. I didn't realise that she was a Grey's fan. And now and again, I will just slip in a little Easter egg Grey's reference. And the other week we were doing a podcast, and I snuck in one which made her cry in the middle of the Joy
on the
podcast.
Yeah. What was the reference?
So I reached over. This will mean nothing to you. It might mean something to Claire. Okay. So I reached over and I took her hand, and I went and I drew a 007, and she just went, "No, you can't do that." Look at Claire's face. Every Grey's fan knows that episode, knows what it means. It's a horrendously sad episode
where James Bond comes in.
George dies. And
which one is? Oh,
George O'Malley.
Okay,
it's the episode
I've
where
seen
George
this on
dies.
TikTok.
Yeah.
But does it happen in a weird way where he dies in an accident and they don't realise it's him right away?
Yeah, and that's how they realise. I'm so sorry. Oh no, I've made Claire cry.
Sorry, Ewan's taking a photo of Claire reacting to us.
It's the sad. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's such a sad episode, and they realise and you'll have seen. So the clip that you'll have seen is Meredith standing,
Yes,
and
yes.
the patient who you can't recognise because they're so badly disfigured because he pushed a woman, he saved a woman's life, he jumped in front of a bus.
He was a good man.
Because he was a very good man.
Yeah.
And he's got Meredith's hand and he's trying to draw it, and she's going 007, 007, and then the moment that
the
you see,
penny
like
drops.
Ellen Pompey is a fantastic actress, right? But you see the penny drop in, and it is devastating, and she just goes. And then that was a finale end. That was like
that was the end of
that
season.
season. So you had to wait, and this is back in the day before you could like bulk watch everything.
Well, you had like another 13 seasons to get through.
Yeah, you had to. Yeah, but you had to like wait until so it would usually be about 9 months between seasons.
Good Lord.
So yeah, so that happened, and then you would have to wait like.
And the American seasons, they're long.
They're very long.
They're like 20 episodes or something.
24 episodes usually.
Yeah.
The first season was only 15, I think. Because obviously they were piloting it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I think most other episodes are 24, other than the COVID year, where I think there was only 16.
Did they tackle COVID
They
at all?
did.
They didn't pretend like it wasn't happening.
No, they didn't pretend like it wasn't happening at all. They did it, and they recorded it pretty much in real time because they were halfway through a season recording when it happened.
Yes.
And so I think what they had to do was they cut season 16 or 17, I can't remember what season it was. They cut one short, but then started filming again as soon as they could, and they did it. Meredith got COVID, but the great thing, and she got it really badly, like she was going to die.
Right.
She was in a coma for a very long time. But the great thing that they did with that is obviously because it all had to be socially distanced and they had to have closed sets and all that sort of thing. And they had her basically unconscious through the whole season, or for the bulk of the season. But so whenever you would see Meredith, it would be in that she was dreaming. So then George came back in her dream, and Lexi was there, and Mark was there, and you got like an Izzy and a whole load of people. Like,
Are these people all dead?
Not all of them are dead, but most of them were dead. But some of the characters that were in our dreams weren't dead, but a lot of them were. And you would get like, so you got some closure on like what happened with characters that like where they were, what happened to them. And she saw Derek again, and he gave her his blessing to move on, as if you need that from a dead man. But that was not very.
You help yourself to a salted rim. Don't worry about it. I'm gone. Don't worry.
Patriarchy lives on even in dreams.
Has there been any storylines where you've got? Because I feel like the ones I see on TikTok must be the most extreme.
Yeah.
So obviously I've seen the George one because that was planned for a finale. Yeah. I've seen one where there's a doctor who I think is from El Salvador, and like the immigration people come to the hospital because they caught her speeding, and so they're trying to deport her, and then they like do a thing. So I feel like I see the most extreme ones and things that people really go like, oh, I remember this episode.
Yeah.
Are there any storylines where you've gone like, this didn't need to happen? This could have been avoided. Yeah,
there's a lot of like I wasn't a big fan of the Denny storyline, and that's also not a big fan of Denny.
Right.
Denny was quite an early storyline, I think season 4 or 5, so Denny is a patient in the hospital, and played by a very lovely actor whose name I can never remember, but he's in freaking everything. You see him in everything, and he was in The Walking Dead. He was quite a big main character in The Walking Dead. And I think that's actually why they ended up killing him off, because
so
I think
he could go
got
do that.
The Walking Dead, and that was like a big main part instead of like a bit part. So Denny came in. He had a heart condition, and Izzy was with Alex, but then Izzy started, and I wasn't that keen on the character of Izzy overall, to be honest, but Izzy started this relationship with the patient, and she cut his LVAD wire, and there was a whole thing, and then you thought he was going to be okay, and then he stroked out, which is what they do to patients when they're like, no, we can't take this any further. stroke them out. So it's like, whenever I get anything medical
Stroke
done,
them out.
so basically you can go for an operation,
Yeah.
right? The operation can be a massive success,
Right.
But then you can have a major stroke, and it's called stroking out. So it's like a reaction to the procedure or the anesthesia, or there was like, they didn't realize, but there was it's an embolism basically.
Right,
so
right,
they've
right.
had a brain embolism or a lung embolism, they stroke out. And that's what happened to Denny. A lot of characters have stroked out.
I thought you were saying like they induce a stroke somehow.
Oh, no. Like,
It'd be like, yeah, the surgery was great, but he's a bit of a knobhead, so just stroke him out.
Stroke him out. So that, and it went on for like a whole season, and it was just very...
Did it ever come up that if she's working at the hospital, she probably shouldn't be
she lost
boffing
her
one of the
job, but she
patients?
got it back. And then she left.
Why?
Then
Did
she got cancer.
Did she? Oh.
Like, if you actually look, you would never go into Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital. Like, I was thinking today, because I was going, what's happened to everybody? Because I was thinking about everything that I was going to chat to you about. And I'm thinking, like, so Meredith, she watched one of her best friends die in an accident. She drowned. Yeah. She saw a guy explode.
She herself drowned?
She drowned, yeah.
And then just came back?
They brought her back.
She stroked in?
She stroked back in again. I mean, it's called Grey's Anatomy, which is also why I'm a bit iffy about this next season, because she's not in it anymore. She's left.
She left?
Yeah, she's
How
left.
did she exit?
So she's coming back again. She's just basically gone off to have a happier life with her 3 kids who are now all...
Where she doesn't have to watch all of her friends die.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd leave. I'd have left 10 seasons earlier, to be honest.
It's like when you watch Hollyoaks and then like that one guy who's been in it since the start.
Oh, Tony.
He's had like 6 different wives. 3 of his children have been murdered. One of his other children turned out to be a murderer.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, but I run a nice Italian restaurant. I'll stick around. It's fine. I'll be like,
in Hollyoaks.
No, move to Bolton.
I
Go
gave up in
somewhere else.
Hollyoaks after like season 2, after the big car crash that killed the little brother. That's the last. Like way back in the day.
I watched Hollyoaks because it was like the
Grey's Anatomy of your decades.
Well, it was the sexy one.
Oh, it was the sexy. Do you not watch Skins?
Skins was a bit
sexy.
Well, it was sexy, but then I didn't relate to any of the teenagers in that, despite being a teenager myself, because I was like, well, I simply wouldn't do any of that. That's very irresponsible what they're doing. Because they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go buy some weed and then go to a house party, and I'd be like, we have our mock GCSEs tomorrow. So I didn't. But
I was too old for Skins, so I was like, my brother watched Skins,
and it was on later as well.
Yeah.
But Hollyoaks was where like it was on at 6 o'clock or 6:30 on After the Simpsons, and that's where you could watch like the gays gaying. And then they would do Hollyoaks After Dark.
Oh, yes.
So sometimes
I've seen a few of those, to be fair.
They were wild.
They were pretty intense. I think I just watched one night because it was on, and I was like, what is going on? Tony's getting shagged.
Tony's getting pumped.
Tony was getting pumped every which way. But
one of them they took a little rowboat out to the middle of a pond, and it capsized, and they swam to shore, and they were just completely naked. You saw a man's penis get erect behind a shadow. Then the woman that he had sex with did die of cancer.
Well, of course. So that's
it's a common trope.
Meredith has so her best friend has died. Her soulmate Christina has been through so many traumas I can't even describe. She got jilted at an altar. She had a marriage that went wrong. She ran away from a marriage. There was a whole load of things. She's had a miscarriage. She's had her sister die, her mother die, her stepmother die. She's been in a plane crash. She watched her husband being shot. Then she had to unplug her husband when he was hit by a lorry, and the irony was that only he could save him from the brain thing that he had.
Oh, wow.
Because he was a neurosurgeon. What else? Her mentor / only father figure was electrocuted. Her own father eventually died, but she'd had to give him a bit of her liver before then. Her child was taken off of her. She ended up in prison. Her boyfriend was murdered. He was stabbed. Her other boyfriend left her when he realised that his girlfriend was not dead in Iraq and was actually came back to the living. It's just, one woman can only take so much.
But apparently she can really take a pounding.
She can take her 8 pounds, and that's why she salted her rim.
It's self-salting. Self-salting. There must be a time when you go like, this is a bit ridiculous, even if you're into the show.
I think probably that's why I didn't watch it as religiously after kind of season 12 or 13, but I put a good 13 years into it, and then I just watched the first 10 seasons.
Yeah.
Up until Christina leaves. When Christina leaves, she doesn't die. She gets a happy ending, which is
thank
nice.
God.
After she wins the Harper Avery. They're all trying to win the Harper Avery, and then it
That's
turns
like a big
out
award.
Harper Avery, he gets Me Too'd, so then they have to change the name. It's
Oh
brilliant.
no!
Yeah.
Well, so she wins an award, but it's a big Nancy award now.
Well, not Nancy. It's just he's like a Me Too, like women
Well, you know what?
touching
There's
up the
two
nurses,
sides to
touching
every
up
story.
the nurses,
No, okay.
kind of thing, and then they turn it into the Catherine Avery or the Catherine something another award. So which is
that a real person?
yes, and she's married to Richard Webber. Oh, there's a whole thing. I mean, unless you're a massive Grey's fan, I should probably do a Grey's Anatomy podcast.
I feel like you've got the knowledge to do it.
Oh, I have the knowledge. If I
Yeah.
was going to do Mastermind, Grey's Anatomy would be my subject.
Because I do remember you have a bit that you do on stage about being such a big fan of Grey's Anatomy that you think you could, if you had to,
Yeah.
probably do a lot of medical procedures
So
or
a
diagnose.
subdural hematoma
Yes.
is the one that I feel most confident in.
Yeah, that's your bread and butter.
That is my bit.
No risk of a
Subdural
stroke out on that one.
Well, massive risk of a stroke out with that one, to be honest.
Oh,
but
really? Is it quite risky?
Yeah, so subdural hematoma is a massive blood clot on the brain.
Oh, okay.
So you have to drill boreholes in the skull and you relieve the pressure
And how would you do that in an emergency
with
situation?
a little drill.
A little drill.
Yes, a tiny little drill.
You're always carrying a drill, just in case
I
someone
bought one
has
in
a
the B&Q sale. I walk about. I also think I could do an appy if I had to. Little appendix whip out. I could probably do that.
Well, I mean, the appendix, you're not using it for anything.
No, I think I could do that. I know where it is in the body. I could do the pen in the throat thing if I had to. I could clear your airway if you had an obstruction.
I might just have an airwaves chewing gum, if that's all right. Maybe a simpler solution.
Maybe.
So is there ever, do you play along with the doctors? Do you try and like diagnose? Because if there's 20 seasons, some stuff must have come up multiple times.
There's quite a lot of bowel obstructions because there's a lot of bowel obstructions. There was one episode where there was a man who his fetish was putting the heads of dollies up his bum. And he had 20 dollies in his bowel.
He just
Judies they were called.
Little Judies.
Little Judies, yeah.
He's got 20 Judies up him.
Just the heads.
How big a head are we talking?
It was pretty big. They were like a dog's head, but they had quite round faces. They were quite round, quite like my own face. They were quite round of the face.
And I have to. Did they have hair or were they shaven?
Yes, no, they had hair. And and when Dr. Bailey, who's one of my favourite characters, when she was taking them out, she was getting very excited because she had Judy's herself when she was growing up. So she was saying which each one was. What year they had come out. She's like, that's a 1962 Judy. Oh, she came with a retractable. It's all good.
And was the man who had received the Judies, was he...
I think he was quite disappointed because he'd spent obviously a lot of time putting these Judies in.
He wasn't enjoying the process of having them taken out?
He was unconscious.
Oh, he didn't even get to stroke himself out.
No, he didn't even get to stroke out. There's a lot of bowel obstructions. An aspirated condom. Somebody inhaled a condom. That was another one.
That's a bit truer to life.
Yeah. Have you aspirated on a condom? Maybe. Did it go into your tummy? Did you pass it, or did it end up because what happened to this girl is she thought it would just go into her stomach, but it didn't. It got stuck in her lung.
It didn't go all the way down.
Oh, that's good.
It was back in the day. I can't remember if I've spoken about this on the pod before, but I used to at uni. In the LGBT society, which I ran for a year, we had to do a safe sex talk for all of the LGBT students because chances were they didn't have the information that they needed. So I'd have to explain everything to them, including maybe some more niche sexual activities, like sticking dolls up your bum.
Right.
And I explained everything to her because we couldn't assume that there wasn't anything that they wouldn't do. And if they were going to do it, then we had to make sure they knew the risks. And the oral stuff, which, part and parcel, we would have to say you should do it with a condom on. Yeah. But then when you actually do that in practice, you're like, what a load of shit. I wouldn't eat a banana with the skin still on.
It's when you see it, you still see it from time to time. It's always a little throwback if you go into an old pub where you see the machine with the flavoured condoms in them. And I always was like,
no.
Why? And up on the Royal Mile, I don't know if you could still do this, but you used to be able to get in the Scottish tat shops, you used to be able to get whiskey flavoured condoms.
I mean, that's going to sting.
Well, also, it's like, who wants to suck an alcoholic's cock?
I mean...
Do you know what I mean? Who's that cock? Whiskey cock.
Let's not judge ex-partners. But I always thought the flavoured stuff, it's a functional item. Nobody's ever gone like, oh, what flavour would you like the condom? Oh, I'll take a classic, please. Yeah. Unflavoured.
Unflavoured, no.
No. If you're agreeing to do stuff that requires that you wear one of those, you've accepted some certain conditions that you're going to encounter. And a little bit of strawberry scented lube isn't going to change that.
No, I mean, it is some of the flavours like the whiskey or lemon. I remember there was lemon flavoured condoms.
See, something citrusy. Are you okay, Ewan? Yeah. Are you thinking about all the lemon lube that you've just bought?
Look at the camera.
Oh, okay, fine. Sorry. You just had the eyes and then turned to me and I was just like, oh, Ewan's just had quite a revelation there. Oh, have you learned anything from Grey's Anatomy that's carried into your actual life? Because you said your friend like taught you a lot about like when she saw like her own experiences on screen, but like, that's actually not how it happened.
Do you know what it is? It's probably as well is about resilience. So Meredith, very resilient character.
It sounds like they would have to be.
Christina, very resilient character. And also it's just like, I'm not very good with grief. Mm. So I'm not, I've had a lot of stressful, sad things happen.
Sure.
As we all have, right? Because that's just life, isn't it? And I always kind of saying, the children, stop trying to protect them so much. Sorry, I was about to go on another rant about hydration of children, but anyway.
About what?
So I've been teaching a lot of stand-up comedy in schools recently.
Yes.
Now I went to school in the 80s and the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And I don't ever remember any children dropping dead of dehydration on a regular basis.
Oh, I see.
I have never seen such hydrated Waynes in all my life. They've all sitting with massive Stanley cups on if they're not filling their freaking Stanley cups, they are knocking them over or going for a pee. And I could not be a teacher because I would just be absolutely... It is insane. It is an insane place that we have got to in life that children have to be constantly sucking on a water bottle in order to be in school.
What parents are giving their children Stanley cups?
They're all got Stanley cups. They all have they take water bottles into school, but most of them are like, because that's the thing at the moment, the Stanley cups. Like they're taking these big massive...
It was like everyone had the same sort of, just like it was like a clear plastic thing with the little plastic little sports cap.
They all seem to be cream coloured ones.
Cream. Beige.
Like a beige. So anyway, sorry. That is by the by, but resilience is what I was talking about.
Sure.
So the other thing that is about Grey's is that so I find it very difficult at times to cry about things that have happened to me or things that I'm experiencing. Mm-hmm. So if I think, my God, woman, you need a release, you need a little release, I will stick on the George episode or the episode where Derek gets shot or the plane crash.
Fascinating.
Or when Meredith has her child taken away from her.
Yes.
All of that. I'll put that on so I can have a proper greet, but not about me.
No,
and my problems.
Just to get it out.
Just to get it out.
Yeah.
And then I feel like, well, if Meredith could get through all of that, if Christina can get through all of that, if Alex Karev, with the upbringing he had, which was very difficult.
I can only imagine.
If he can become a doctor, then so can I.
That's so funny because I do the same thing, but not with... maybe it's a different type of cry.
Yeah.
If I want to treat myself to a cry, Do you remember that show Stars in Their Eyes?
Yes.
So I skip right to the end where there's the public vote. And like, you know, it's Diana Ross versus Elvis versus, he's got like a name that isn't Peter Stringfellow, Marty Pellow. So many Marty Pellow impersonators. But you get to the final and it's
they
just...
felt it in their fingers.
They really felt it in their fingers. And then we heard the stories about it later. No, there's something about watching these like everyday people, because it wasn't like the X Factor or Pop Idol where like they won a recording deal or anything.
Yeah.
They just were going on to like sing a song and people had said like, oh, I sound a bit like Alison Moyet, people sometimes tell me. And then she gets to the final and then you see she's won the most votes and so she wins and she can't believe it. She's just overcome. And then I just have a little cry because I'm just like, how lovely. She's just achieved something she never thought she would get to do. And she's done it and she's so happy. Aww. And also there's no pressure of what happens next because it can just be that. It can just be that nice thing, nicely contained.
That's a little joyful cry, I feel.
A little joyful cry.
That's a little joyful cry. I have different things for joyful cries. I'll watch videos of my son if I want a little joyful
Oh, well,
cry.
that's very sweet.
Yeah. So if I'm looking for a little joy release, then it's videos of my son. But if I'm like, I need to have a good old sob here.
A good old sob.
A guttural, like literally my husband has come in and I've been like sitting up in bed and like sobbing. And the first thing, he now knows the first couple of times that this happened in our relationship, he'd be like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's happened? Oh my God.
Yeah.
And now he goes, Grey's Anatomy. He goes, which episode is it? And I'm like, that's the one with George dies. Like, absolutely inconsolable.
It's so funny. It's almost like we're planning like when we're allowed to have our emotions.
Yeah, it's
I've
very
got to schedule
Presbyterian,
it in.
repressed.
I think my husband, David, has only seen me properly sob. I didn't cry on our wedding day, but my reason for that is always because I knew we would get married very early on.
Oh.
So it wasn't like a release. I was just like, we're just doing what I always knew would happen. So I was just happy.
Yeah.
The only time I think he's properly seen me cry was, I'll say when I saw him cry, it was because his dog had died. Very understandable.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely dog and they all loved it. So it was very sad. The first time he saw me cry was during the Fringe. So I was already very vulnerable.
Yes.
And I got my first review and it was nice and I couldn't stop crying.
Aww.
And then the reviews that came after that were not as nice, but I just remember the first one.
You had the first one? That's all
I
you
had
need?
the first one. And then but you know when you see how like surprised they are that you're experiencing this emotion.
Yeah.
So I cried a little bit and I was like, okay, I'm fine now. And then I walked back in and I just saw his face just kind of go like, oh, because he's never seen me do that before.
A little bit of emotion. Can I ask you something? You said that
36B. Yes.
Lovely. That's what I was as a teenager. So
I'm just broad at the back.
So you said that you knew early on that you would marry your husband, so it wasn't a massive revelation. And I had the very same thing. So the very first time my husband kissed me, and it was very out of the blue.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was in a very strange situation. But anyway, we kissed, and
Were you stroking out?
I was just stroking out. I knew that like when I say it was a very strange situation, I can't really go into it actually. Like I'm not really going to go into what the situation was, but just I wasn't expecting it. He wasn't expecting it, and it happened. And I remember as soon as he started kissing me, and it was a weird thing because I've never been a let's get married person. I was never that type of person growing up. I was never like a girl that thought about getting married or anything like that. And as soon as he started kissing me, my brain went, you're going to marry this guy.
Oh, that's lovely.
Probably shouldn't have told him.
Did you say it right then and there?
I said it like the next day.
Oh, okay.
Which was very inappropriate for a multitude of reasons.
You know what? Christina Yang, she saw what she wanted and she went for it.
Christina
no matter
Yang
how many
did,
times she was left at the altar or drowned or whatever.
She never drowned. Meredith drowned.
Sorry.
Yes. So was it a thing like that?
I think from our first date, I won't say how it ended, although I have a special on YouTube where you can see exactly how the day ended. I just remember at some point on the first day I was just like, yeah, this will be lovely. Thank you.
So kind of the same thing.
Yeah. But it was just in his company. I just felt like the date was going well, but it felt different to like a normal date going well. It was just, I was like, oh, okay, no, this is like a little.
See, this is all, and bringing it back to Grey's Anatomy is that Meredith and Derek. So for the first 3 or 4 seasons, there's this like, you know, they're together, they're apart, they're together, they're apart, they're together, they're apart.
Right.
And then they write that they're married in a post-it note. Very long story.
Okay.
Because they gave their wedding. They were supposed to get a proper wedding, but they gave that away to Alex and Izzy because Izzy was dying of cancer. Then she didn't die. Then she went off, and then she did a very terrible thing where she had children and didn't tell Alex until season 16, and then he left his new wife. Anyway, it's all a big thing.
It's all kicking off at whatever was it called?
Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital.
Of course.
At that time, it changes a couple of times. The name changes.
Okay. Why did Grace Sloan get Me Too'd as well?
No, so it becomes Grace Sloan in season 8 or 9 after the plane crash. So before then, it's Seattle Grace Hospital.
Okay.
And then it becomes Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital because Lexi and Mark die in the plane crash. Well, Mark dies after the plane crash. But,
okay.
And then they changed the name of the hospital to Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital.
That's a nice
And
way
I
to
think it
commemorate
changes
them.
again towards, I can't remember, I think maybe now it's called something else. Because they're...
JD Sports.
JD Sports. It's a bit like the Sugar Babes, the lineup keeps changing. But if we all got to go back, we'd go back to the original.
Sure. Yes. I saw them live last year. It was lovely. Well, we could talk about Grey's Anatomy for much longer, but we're coming to the end of the episode.
Yes.
Well, there's one last thing to do with you.
Are you going to salt my ribs?
Assume the position.
We've had one margarita.
Okay, I can't believe I didn't mention this at any point when we were talking about margaritas. Do you know the song One Margarita? On TikTok, there was like a Christian street preacher woman, and she was in the middle of this college campus saying how like girls these days, like they have a drink and then they're so loose of morals. And she was saying like, this girl, she will have one margarita and then she will do anal with people. And she just went on this rant. And this like radio DJ heard the clip and then immediately did a rap. And then the rap was so popular on TikTok that it became a single, and there were all of these remixes, and it's called One Margarita, and it goes like...
I'm going to need to listen to it.
Oh,
How does it go?
It's so good. It's give me one margarita, I'm going to open my legs. Give me 2 margaritas, I'm going to give you some head. Oh, Claire's doing the choreography. It's like the Macarena. Give me 3 margaritas, I'm going to put it in my puss. Give me 4 margaritas, put it in my tush. Give me 5 margaritas, I'm going to have some fun. And then give me 5 margaritas, I think she says I'll put it in your bun? I'll put it in your bun. So if you've had 5 margaritas, that you've done everything. You've done puss, tush, you've pegged.
You've done everything.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm down with the kids now.
There's a lot of remixes. I particularly enjoy the Ladies' Day remix. Feel it's like very feminist.
Okay.
Yeah, he should do that to you anyway. Anyway, the last thing that we do with all of the guests.
Yeah.
We're going to do quick fire feelings. So it's random topics. I just want to know very quickly how you feel about them.
Okay.
Just whatever comes to your soul.
Oh my goodness.
Just let me know. So the first thing, and we ask this to every guest, how do you feel about dark chocolate?
It has its place.
Very diplomatic answer.
Yeah.
Has its place.
It has
right
its
time.
place. Yeah, right time. Like I'm not having it on the reg, but
No.
if it is offered to me, I'm
You
like,
can.
especially the little like a little salted caramelly type kind
Okay.
of.
Yeah, something to cut the bitterness. Okay.
And it's good for baking.
It is good for baking. I will give you that. Good for a brownie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
All
give you
good.
that. Yeah. How do you feel about golf, mini or regular?
I've never played regular golf. My brought up in my dad and brother both played golf. I've never played it. Mini golf, I love mini golf. Love it. And I
Yeah.
like to take a Dawson head.
Excuse your mouth.
So years and years ago, I was playing mini golf with my cousins in Canada, and you know, like when the ball goes right to the side, and you're allowed to take the head of like the golf club in order so that you can actually
So you
like
can
get
actually
behind
get
it to
some
putt
movement,
it.
yeah.
And I don't know if you ever watched Dawson's Creek, but you know, poor James Vanderbeek has a massive head. Like it's a huge head. Like you wouldn't want to buy hats or try putting a jumper for that boy. His head is ginormous. And if you actually look at the PR shots for season 1 where they didn't realize how big his head is and like compare it to the rest of the cast's heads, he looks like a bobblehead compared to the rest of them. And so we were taking Dawson heads, and so now forevermore I'll take a
You
Dawson
call it a
head,
Dawson head,
which is like much further away from the side than you're supposed to be.
Fair enough.
Take a Dawson head.
Fair enough. So if you hadn't expected, I'd have just been like, she's a pro golfer. That must be a proper term. How do you feel about Mr. Gary Lineker?
Fine. I think he speaks his mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
go for it, Gary. I mean, he doesn't sit about resting in his laurels. He's got all that cash, so he doesn't really need the job. And I feel like he shouts for the right stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Gary's all right.
He's all right.
The crisp adverts are cringing, but other than that, I don't mind him.
Well, he's probably got a lot of money because he found all those £20 notes in a packet of
Yes, I
salt and
know.
shake.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I never found one of those growing up.
No. Did
Never.
anybody?
I
Did
think
you
if
know anybody?
I think my mum found a fiver once.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes, it was set for life.
Set for
yeah,
life,
I grew up
absolutely.
so much
Did you see that
privilege.
Joe Heenan won the postcode lottery?
No.
Yeah, he won like $9,000 in the
Stop
postcode
it.
lottery. Yeah.
David won £10.
Same
Married
thing.
the wrong man. Oh. How do you feel about buying things when you're a little bit pissed?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
I've bought so many things and I'm a little bit pissed that I absolutely adore. Also when I was a little bit pregnant, which is quite like being pissed.
Is it?
Because you have the mad baby brain. But I would like, and I couldn't sleep. I had pregnancy insomnia. And so I would just sit on Amazon and buy random things. And I got ahead of this trend that I've noticed has come back massively, where I got, oh God, what are they called again now? It's like makes your water fizzy.
A soda stream?
A soda stream. So when I was pregnant, I bought a soda stream online because I was like, oh, I haven't thought about them. It popped up and I went, I haven't thought about them for years. And there was like a special offer. And so I bought one. And now I've noticed that they're absolutely everywhere and
They are,
everybody's
they're very
buying them
popular.
again. So we've had one for the last 4.5 years.
I used to work with a man from New Zealand. I don't know what that was. And he was obsessed with, in New Zealand, you can get what is essentially a flavoured fizzy milkshake.
That sounds vile.
I know, but apparently it's supposed to be very good. And so he wanted to buy a soda stream so he could do the soda stream thing, but 2 milkshakes.
That's wrong. He needs locked up.
Okay. He needs stroking out
That's
that one.
how I feel about him.
Lastly, how
Yes.
do you feel about Dubai?
Yeah, I wouldn't. How do I feel about Dubai? I'm not going to go. I'm not spending it. Like, I've
Okay.
been offered gigs there. And I
Yeah.
know that they're very lucrative gigs. And I'm not putting myself, I'm not doing a, what's his name? Joe Lycett and going, oh, I would never take money from Dubai. And then it turned out he was gigging there. Like, but yeah, one of my best friends lives in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, yeah.
And she's lived there for quite a few years now. And I would go and visit her.
Okay.
So that's that's a shift, that question.
Yeah, it was considering Gary Lineker to Dubai.
Yeah, Gary Lineker. How would Gary Lineker feel about Dubai? That's the question that we need to ask.
I think we all know favourably. They'll eat a crisp in Dubai,
They will.
probably.
I'm sure they would.
They probably
Sure
would.
they would.
Well, that brings us to the end of the episode.
Yay.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts about Margaritas, Grey's Anatomy and Dubai.
Thank
Hope
you
none
very
of that
much.
goes viral. It's been lovely to have you on. Is there anything that you would like to plug whilst you're here?
Yeah, when does the episode go out?
In in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, so I think that's probably in time. I am doing the Soho Theatre
The Soho Theatre.
on the 30 days of September, April, June and November. Yep, so 31st. I'm doing the Soho Theatre on the 31st of May and the 1st of June.
Lovely.
With my sold out 5-star reviewed tour show.
It's a great show.
Bahiki, which you have seen.
I have
You
seen,
can
loved
see
it.
Where I dance in a pole, having had a margarita. It's great. But
Do you have a
yeah, I would
margarita
love
before every show?
I don't do a lot of gigging in London, so I'm quite nervous that there'll be 4 people there and I'll be related to 3 of them. So because my auntie lives in Luton and she's coming, it would be quite nice. It's a 90-seater. It would be quite nice that if on both nights it was more than just my auntie and uncle and their friend that they've dragged along.
Well, you know what? It's a nice way to catch up with the family. You know,
Like getting my tushy out.
getting your tush. Yeah, well, it depends how many margaritas you've had. Could be puss tush. It could be.
Could be, I'll be putting it in all the tush. Yes, I'm doing that. And I'm on
Lovely.
tour. I'm on tour to the end of the year with Bahiki.
Lovely. Oh, and of course, you've got your podcast, as you mentioned, with Amelia.
Podcast. It's the Joy Agenda, where you may see Amelia randomly cry when I slip in a little Easter egg from Grey's Anatomy. But yeah, we talk about joy for the rest of it.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you
I
for
hope you had a nice
having
time.
me. I've had a lovely time. I feel like I could have another Margs, but I've got to go and pick my child up.
Fuck's sake, honestly, you mums. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for watching or listening. You can follow the show at I've Had a Rosé, and we will see you again for another episode very soon. Goodbye.